3. However, in the last few moments, we have had confirmation from Red Bull that unfortunately the co-founder of Red Bull, Dietrich Mateschitz, has passed away at the age of 78. Christian Horner spoke with me a little earlier, a few moments ago really, and just said that he sent his sympathies to the family and seemed pretty emotional. I've spoken to a couple of senior team members and personnel since then, and there is a real sense of loss in the Formula One paddock this afternoon. Andrew Benson, the BBC's chief F1 writer, is with us, and Andrew, he was a very influential man when it comes to this sport.
Indeed, Mateschitz was a reclusive figure. He hardly ever gave any interviews. In fact, I don't remember one that he did at all, certainly not in the English language. But he, of course, he owns 2 Formula One teams, and he's made the team he founded by buying Jaguar back in 2004 one of the most successful of the modern era. And they've not only had incredible success through the early years of the 2010s with Sebastian Vettel. They started a new era, of course, the last 2 years with Max Verstappen. But they've also been huge global promoters of Formula One. Obviously their job is to sell their product, and Formula One is their main global marketing campaign. So they've helped raise the image of the sport and profile of the sport around the world as well.
Yeah, they certainly have. And you go up and down this paddock and speak to people about their connection with this Red Bull team, and there are very few people who don't have a story to tell and a reflection on it. But as you say, very few people in this paddock ever had the opportunity to speak to Dietrich. Ask him a question once, and I didn't get an answer. He carried on walking. It's relatively unsurprising. Jack Nicholls, our lead commentator, is ready for qualifying, but it can't be underestimated the significance of this moment within the Red Bull organisation and the paddock.
And it goes way further back than Red Bull Racing as well. I think that's what is so amazing. You know, Dietrich Mateschitz Red Bull started sponsoring Sauber in the early 1990s. I think they might have started with the sports car team, then came into Formula One and were a huge part of that as well. The Red Bull Young Driver program has created so many drivers in Formula One, but also outside of Formula One that have passed through the program itself, and again outside of Formula One. They've always been huge supporters of motorsport, full stop, and Mateschitz was a huge fan of it. And you go to, if anyone's lucky enough to have been to Hangar 7 just outside of Salzburg, Red Bull's sort of headquarters, the amount of racing cars that are in there, and airplanes in particular, were another passion of Mateschitz. And I think the amount of investment fundamentally that Dietrich Mateschitz put into motorsport cannot be underestimated for, who knows what return. As Andrew says, it's their main sort of sponsorship program. But if you were sort of just an accountant looking at it, is the way Mateschitz went about promoting Red Bull the correct way to do it, in the most cost-effective way? Who knows? But it was a way that he was just unbelievably passionate about, and I think it's fantastic what he's done for motorsport over the last 30+ years.
Christian Horner said to me earlier on, we're going to go out there, we're going to qualify and do our very best this weekend for Dietrich Mateschitz. We've got about a minute to go until the start of the session. And Andrew, just very quickly, what does this mean for the team going forward? Presumably their future is safeguarded regardless of this.
Well, Jenny, we don't know a definitive answer to that question. Of course, when any moment of this seismic nature happens, there's always going to be a period of uncertainty. I'm told there's no immediate threat to the future of Red Bull or AlphaTauri, and the co-owner of Red Bull, a Thai gentleman who was Dietrich Matteschitz's partner, Chalam Uvidia is his name. He's a big backer of Formula One as well. So there's no immediate reason to think that there's any threat to the future of those two teams.
Okay. Session going to get underway in about 10 seconds time, so we'll give you the opportunity to sync. 20 drivers taking to the track. Only one of them will be in pole position, Jack Nicholls.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see who will be on pole position. It won't be Charles Leclerc. He has a 10-place grid drop, so although he looked like the closest threat to Max Verstappen earlier on, the 10-place grid drop will preclude him from taking that, but it looked really close. Jolyon Palmer, the former Renault Formula 1 driver and man who finished 13th in the 2016 United States Grand Prix here. It looked really close, and then all of a sudden...
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green light. Green light.
Element of unknown into this session, which has now begun with a few cars heading out on track. Albon, Latifi, Schumacher and Zhou. I think it's all to play for. Leclerc, 10-place grid penalty, will rule him out of serious contention for now and probably for tomorrow. Perez has a 5-place grid penalty as well, so that's going to rule him out. So really, it's Verstappen v Sainz. What can Mercedes do? What can Hamilton do? Russell has slightly behind through practice. Can Hamilton get himself over tomorrow?
Zhou Guanyu is on the back foot a little bit, only did 3 laps in practice 3 earlier on today, so he has gone straight out in the Alfa Romeo. Magnussen, Albon, Latifi, Schumacher, Zhou, those 5 drivers, as Jolyon said. Everybody else sitting and waiting in the pit currently as we...
Okay, you're all in sync, just Albon ahead, so make with a gap. Remember, mode push, mode push.
Go through to the final part of qualifying, and sun is going to be a little bit of a challenge, I think, today for the drivers, as is track limits. We haven't had them deleted during the practice sessions, but particularly turn 19 and the final corner at Andretti, they're the kind of 2 main spots, maybe even up over the crest at turn 9, but you tend to sort of lose time really if you're up out in the runoff area there. But 19 in particular has been somewhere where we've seen a lot of lap times deleted historically,
and a lot of people going over them through practice.
Yeah.
It's really tricky conditions out there. The track is bumpy. It's particularly bumpy in the high speed. There's also a big wind. There's a tailwind through the high speed, and it means that the cars are very loose, so they're overheating their tyres a lot, and it means by the end of the lap, where track limits are in play, everyone's just sliding around and on the absolute edge of rear grip, and some small mistake can just force you wide over track limits. It's not been a problem through practice, but now drivers are going to have to be really